Welcome to the 20th season of Ignite Your Soul Connection. Welcome to the 20th season of the Ignite Your Soul Connection, brought to you by Master Force Inc. And we want to take a minute to thank Master Force Inc. for always continuing to edify our souls. And tonight we have a great show for you planned, talking about affirming love for our children. I am Orion Manson. I will be your co-host this evening. My co-host is the beautiful and one and only Dr. Sandra Jones Manson. How about you introduce yourself, Sandra?
Hello and good evening, everyone. Thank you for that introduction. Tonight we are talking about affirming love for your children. We have a wonderful guest in store, as my husband mentioned. We'll be doing this show together. We are coming to you live from Virginia, from Northern Virginia. Really happy to be here. So I currently, my 9 to 5 is I work for the federal government, but I am not here in that capacity for this presentation. I am also a certified Master Force life coach. And I'm really happy to be a part of the Master Force experience as well. And I became a certified life coach in 2015, along with my husband. We went through the course together at the same time. We met Moot at the same time, who is the founder of Master Force. And life coaching changed my life because it allowed me to reclaim and connect with who I am and my identity. And so I'm very grateful for that experience. What about you, Han? What do you do, and how did becoming a life coach change your life?
Well, I am a data manager for a local government here, and I'm not here in that capacity at all. But Life Force, as you said, we've been certified since 2015, and it has been a great life altering experience since becoming certified with Master Force. I would say that I didn't wake up until I got certified because I was able to learn more about myself and learn how to deal with myself in a loving space and to be true and authentic to myself. So I'm grateful and thankful to Master Force and one of my favorite people on this earth, Motion Suit, for allowing me and bringing this curriculum in this course to us and allowing us to be certified in it.
Yes. And tonight we have a very special guest, another Master Force coach who's going to join us and talk to us about affirming love for your children. And so, with no further ado and with great pleasure, I bring to you Nin Usheas Ray. And she's going to join us here on the stage. And there she is, the beautiful Nin Usheas Ray. Hi.
Yes. Hello.
So, Nin Usheas, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you coming to us from, and what is it that you do presently in life?
Okay. Well, as you said, I'm Nin Usheas Tupac, Usheas Ray. Also go by Nin Usheas Tupac L. And I'm tuning in from the Windy City, the beautiful city of Chicago, greatest city on the planet.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes, it is.
Yes. Right now, I do coaching for personal and professional development. A little bit about myself. I have cultivated more than 20 years of orthodox and unorthodox talents, training, and in many fields, namely ancient healing, Olmec culture, metaphysics, and astronomy. The most important aspect brought me the wisdom that we are being decreed to take care of Mother Earth, beings that are mandated to restore law. And so I am just honored to be a vessel to help place everything back in harmony.
Hmm. Then, Ushayas, when did you become a certified Master Force life coach?
In 2014, and during that particular time, I had a lot of things under my belt.
Hmm.
And at that time, I was 3 years in being a mother. So Master Force helped me marry all those things together and
Hmm.
also
Mhm.
gave me the encouragement to really see how important children are. Why I was so excited to do this particular presentation today. The love of children is there's no other. If we pour into them, we're pouring into ourselves. So
Mhm.
um, yeah, so that's how I met her through my child, actually.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's great stuff. So you let me make sure I got this right. I'm sorry, right. Your focus of expertise and specialty is transformation and professional coaching, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I'll tell you one thing. I've heard nothing but great things about you.
Hmm.
I heard that you are so loving and nurturing, and I can tell by your passion and what you're passionate about, Mother Earth. And
Hmm.
I love that. And I cannot wait to hear from you. And tonight we'll be talking about affirming love for children. And this is important to us because between the two of us, we got 7 kids and five
Oh wow.
grandkids. So, and we've had the whole, and right now we got the whole spectrum of kids in our life. So we got teenagers all the way up to 33-year-olds.
Oh
So
wow.
we are definitely excited about this, and
Absolutely.
hopefully can get some gems from you and some tips from you about how to handle us as grandparents and still parents, and watching our children try to be parents and things we can
Mhm.
help them with. So I'm excited about this. So let's just get into this conversation, and we'll go ahead and get started. You can cue up your presentation. By the way, we will be doing a PowerPoint presentation that would be guided by you says. Let me make sure I get this right. I want to make sure it's official. Ninu says Tupac L.
Correct.
All right. That's that you with a name like that, you can't mess that up. And very official, like a ref with a whistle. So I got to give you all your props. I love it.
I
But go
appreciate
ahead
that.
and cue up your presentation because I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. And also want to say, you all have much, 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 much more experience than I do. I just have the one, and she's 13. So
Oh,
anywhere you see that you can chime in, most definitely.
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. All right. So affirming love for children. Ignite Your Soul Connection, as our illustrious host just mentioned. This is our 20th season, and today we talk about affirming love for children. Um, so I'm honored to contribute to this platform. We've had some amazing talks this week. We explored how to create foundations for a lifetime of growth and happiness for life and family. This will show this showed the different ways this presentation will show the different ways we express love to the seeds we nurture. Affirming love for children is a foundational aspect of nurturing their growth, development, and well-being. It involves expressing love, care, and support in ways that resonate with them, helping them feel valued, secure, and confident. Mhm. Okay. Have you ever wondered why some days you feel grumpy and other days you feel on top of the world? And did you know your emotional well being affects your child? Well, we all want happy, well balanced children, right? But sometimes with busy lives, it can be easy to get caught up in the day to day and forget about how much our actions affect our children's emotional well being. Well, according to Tahuti and the late Dr. Hawkins, it has to do with something called your level of consciousness. Comprehending it can help us be mindful of how our own energy impacts our children's emotional well being. Think of it as like a scale that shows how much energy you have, not the kind of energy that makes muscles move, but the kind of energy that affects your mood and outlook on life. Imagine the ladder with 7 rungs, representing different levels of energy. Higher rungs make feelings more positive and empowered, while lower rungs indicate negativity. Low rungs, shame, guilt, anger, fear. When we as parents act out of these emotions, yelling, criticizing, or withholding affection, it pulls our children down on the ladder too. They might feel scared, guilty, or unloved. Think of it as draining their emotional battery. The middle range: pride, willpower, neutrality. Being overly strict or dismissive might keep them stuck in the middle. They might feel okay, but not great, like their battery is only partly charged. High rungs: acceptance, reason, love, peace. This is where we want our kids. When we show love, understanding, and offer support, their energy soars. Think of it as being fully charged, fully charging their battery with positive energy. Let's say your child gets a bad grade. Okay. Any questions or comments about our emotional state chart? It's very relative as far as us understanding how we feel can affect our children. So the most important thing in this is to make you realize to always check your feelings. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. This is a great chart. I'm hoping, wink, wink, that this will be available to others, and maybe it's some of the materials that they share after this. But this is very useful.
Yeah,
Indeed, indeed.
I love the way it's broken down by colors and its chakra colors, and I love the way that it's broken down by emotion and how it can either elevate your child's vibration or you can actually lower your child's vibration through your emotional state that you're giving them that energy. So yeah, I love this, and it's hopefully it will be soon available.
Yes. I think the one part that I love math. So
Mhm.
anytime that you can quantify something for me
Mhm.
is all good. You know, you can't argue with numbers, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So let's say your child gets a bad grade, reacting with anger. You never study, pulls them down instead of empathy. Wow, that's tough. How can we work together to improve next time? This shows love and support, boosting their energy. Here, climbing together. Here's ways to use the map to be a more loving parent. Practice self-awareness. Recognize your own emotions before reacting. Take a deep breath and calm down if needed. Focus on positive communication. Use I statements. I feel frustrated when blah blah blah. Instead of blaming your child, offer encouragement and support. Celebrate their efforts, not just achievements. Show unconditional love. Let them know you love them no matter what.
Hmm.
So the statements, our words, are super, super, super powerful. Um, and we're not going to get into the soapbox of how they destroyed the English language. But
Right.
there's so many words that we don't
Mhm.
even realize how we use them. And so as parents, we have to be more conscious every time we say something, what vibration does that give off, right?
Yes.
So I was having a conversation with a mother, and I was watching her teach her child a lesson, and she was saying, "Well, I know you have a deficit." And I was like, don't tell them they have a deficit. You know, that word alone, it makes you feel inferior, like you're not good enough. So, and then the mother, that was just a term that she thought was okay. So, to help the child understand, but deficit means like you can't fix it, right?
Mhm.
So, and you don't want to make the words we use is so powerful. Any thoughts on that, host?
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Okay, I go. I love the fact that you are bringing out the fact that words are powerful
Mhm.
and how we can speak power into our kids or we can destroy them, right? And I'm gonna give you one example. I was a mentor, and this young kid was just doing everything, and we was at this place, and so I pulled him to the side, and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on? Why are you acting like that?" And he shocked me. He said, "Man, you don't even know what's going on with me, and I got ADHD, but I can tell that he's been weaponizing the fact that he's been diagnosed with ADHD because he used that as an excuse right away after I pulled him to the top side and say, "Hey, something is what's going on because your behavior that you're acting is not up to par with what our standards are for being here." And so you're absolutely right. You can speak power into a child, or you can give them the tools to be less than.
Mhm. And I also love you mentioned unconditional love. Um, and you gave an example of, for example, the child who maybe didn't get the good grade. And instead of saying, why didn't you study? Showing the empathy you mentioned. Like, wow, that must have been hard. Because I think sometimes as a parent, and I'll speak for myself as a parent, at least early in my parenting, um, finding that balance between demonstrating love while still holding the child accountable to the standards that I have for how they perform in school or how they behave, whether at home or in certain settings, how they relate to others. Besides the empathy, are there any other examples you can give to a parent who's trying to strike that balance between how do I hold my child account, to the standards that I have for them while still demonstrating that unconditional love?
Well, probably the biggest thing is to really, you have to pay attention to your child. You have to
Mhm.
see how they can actually receive the information, right? Um, Understanding how you present information is most important.
Mm,
So checking yourself, making sure that you're not speaking when you are irritated.
mm,
Don't talk to your child when you're irritated or you're angry, or just take a breath first, and that will open the way to empathy, being putting yourself in the child's shoes. We as parents, depending on the generation you came from, it was like you stay in the child's place. Children are seen and not heard, and those type of sayings, caused us to have a certain vantage, a certain perspective of our children, not giving them the floor for them to express themselves or just to be open enough or feel comfortable, ensuring that and we'll get into that a little later, as far as ensuring that they have the space,
mm,
you
mhm,
know, um, the mental space. You ensure that you're checking in with them, checking out their headspace. And if if your children are not homeschooled, they go to public school, you got to always check their headspace. You have to always check, what's being poured into them. Have
mhm,
conversations with them, especially if they're not. again, if they're not homeschooled, if you don't, because if they're in, public schools or even in any type of community after school programs, they're around, there's a lot of people, right?
Yep.
A lot of people. You don't know what everybody emotional traumas could be discharging
Mm-hmm.
on your child. You have no idea in a day. Just think about just living in a day. There's a lot of things. So the more we understand how to raise our vibration, the more we can give that encouragement to our children to keep their vibration high. Whereas only enlightenment and peace and joy and love is in their vicinity, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's
Yeah.
it's about consistency. We've been bombarded with negativity. I like to call this the devil's playground, and we all here came to play this game, right?
Yes.
And the game is, how can you check your emotions? Let me see you check your emotions. That's the game here.
Hmm.
Yes.
That's why these two slides that you started off with are so important, because immediately out the gate, you're providing the tools to even understand, um,
Yeah.
have that self awareness.
Hmm.
You mentioned that that's a very critical first key in
I
parenting is self awareness.
and I agree because these two slides are the governance of your life, whether you know it or not. That it will dictate what type of life you're having according to the emotional state of being that you're currently in. So, thanks for bringing that out.
Absolutely.
Indeed. And so, the main thing, if we don't comprehend what we're doing, we'll repeat the same things,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
So if we say we are ascending, and this is how we ascend, by checking ourselves. So you could just look at this list, and we have so many words. You look, if you study other languages, they have one word that means one thing. They
Mhm.
don't have a million words
Yes.
to confuse you. But this is, the frequency, and you see what's the lowest: fear,
Mhm.
hate, guilt, despair, anger. But fear is the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to really touch on that because us parents, you don't realize, maybe some people do, but I know I didn't realize until as a parent, how much fear I had.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. And then I had to realize I was pushing the fear, off on my child, my daughter, our daughter. So it was just like, okay, I'm pulling and then it made me recognize what my parents and my grandparents, how they
Mm-hmm.
were pouring fear into me. And I was like, okay, I got to stop this. And so Master Force helped me, bring all that together, along with becoming a doula, a certified doula as well, of really comprehending the role that mothers play, parents play. Mothers first, we have our dads, they have to provide that balance, right? But
Mhm.
mothers are the first teachers. Like, we're teaching the children while they're in the womb, whether we realize it or not. Everything we uh, have issues with, I'll give you one prime example. We affect our children in so many ways. So it's so important to check ourselves. So I was dealing with this one mother, and she was pregnant. Her and her mate had a very, very tumultuous relationship. They argued. He even put his hands on her a couple of times. And so when the child came out, the child, um, it's like the child knew not to trust the mother.
Mhm.
It's like the child, she went to lay the child down. The child was very intelligent. She went to lay the child down. And you know how, if you laying down, you might put your arm back, right? To make
Mm-hmm.
sure you ain't about to, will you laying me type of situation. Well, this child, at, I had to be like 3 weeks old, pushed his arm back like, where are you laying me? It was amazing to me.
Mhm. That is amazing.
And it made me think, I was like, how is it that this child doesn't trust his mother already?
Mm-hmm.
Because she learned that the mother did not set her boundaries, was always in despair, always made to feel guilty. So, we have to be mindful of the partners that are not healed in our lives or the people
Mm-hmm.
that are not healed in our lives. Because we're not, bad mouthing anybody. Oh, he did this, that. No, we're all operating the best we can and through trauma. We're
Mm.
all
Mm-hmm.
operating through our traumas. So we have to check it. And fear is, fear. Oh, I ain't going to eat. Oh, fear. I'm not going to have a place to live. Oh, fear. There's always all this fear, all
Mm-hmm.
this fear they're putting on you, which is the opposite, right? It's the
It's the
opposite.
opposite.
It's all the way at the bottom
Mm-hmm.
for
Mhm.
the frequency.
And it's
So,
interesting. I know you have a daughter.
mm-hmm.
My three oldest children are boys, and so we have more boys than girls. Between our seven, five are boys.
Well, wow.
And so when you talk about that fear,
Mm.
I think that really comes into play when you're raising Black male
Ooh.
children in the city.
Mm.
And I think, and as you're speaking, what's coming up for me is we have owned and adopted this narrative that we have to raise our Black boys in
Mm.
fear to save their lives. And as you're talking, and I'm looking at these slides, I'm questioning in real time in this moment, do we? Do
Right.
we have to raise them in fear? Like, what are we doing?
We don't.
We adopt that narrative that we have to, make them aware of certain things early, and other young men who are not Black men don't have to deal with that. But actually, where that's coming from is a place of fear that
Mhm.
fear from generations and generations ago, from post traumatic slave syndrome, right? That fear is still in our DNA, and we keep hanging out in this low vibe. If you look at the slide, that's where we're hanging out, mothers, when we are adopting this mentality of we have to keep our boys safe, and we're raising them in fear. We're feeding them the fear.
Mhm.
And that's, yeah.
And from I'm a scientist. Two things can't exist in the same place at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in fear, you can't love can't exist. And so this time, the Aquarian age, everything we think and feel manifests.
Absolutely.
Everything we think and feel manifests. The
Yeah.
gods is waking up, they're coming up, and they're manifesting. So if we have, like you say, the I call it the Willie Lynch residue that we're operating under, we're still scared.
Mm-hmm.
But in this new paradigm, we can create high frequency, and none of that even penetrates us.
Yep.
So learning how to stay on a frequency of peace and joy. Of course, like we've always been taught, prepare for the worst, but um, anticipate the best.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to say hope because that's a whole nother conversation with the English word. But
I say expect the best.
right, expect the best,
Yeah.
anticipate the best,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
know that the best is coming. And so that's the frequency that will come to you. You won't have, if you're in a high frequency, how can someone stop you?
Yeah.
The frequency, they don't even see you.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the mentality, because teaching them to be in fear every time they see a police officer, their energy make them come to them.
Absolutely. I like to add to that because I had to learn as an adult growing up on the west side of Chicago that just because you're in the jungle don't mean that you have to participate in the jungle. And
Mm-hmm.
what I mean by that is you can vibrate so high that you can be in the midst of chaos and nothing will happen to you.
Yep.
And that's what I was always trying to teach my boys once I learned it, that, just like the Bible say, I'll walk through the, excuse me, but the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil and all the rest of that. I think that's what that Scripture was about.
Mhm.
How even though you are in the midst of chaos, you do not have to be in the chaos. You just continue
Mhm.
to vibrate high and everything that's happening around you, because energy attracts, like you said, everyone that's holding that energy, that's where it will attract to. Because I
Mhm.
think of it like oil and water, it does not mix. And so we should be teaching our kids to have a high vibration and not to be in fear. I
Yeah.
agree with that.
And I
Yeah,
don't want to leave the daughters out
absolutely.
because
Oh,
that,
sure.
I know I gave the boys as an example, but having our youngest daughter just turned 15, then you Shaya. So we're right in that little space where you are right now with
Oh
that
boy.
early teenager. But with the girls, it's the same. The fear is may not be of
Oh
police
my
violence,
goodness, it's
but it's
worse.
fear of what some man would do to you, especially dealing with,
Yes.
unresolved maybe sexual trauma or other type of trauma that
Hmm.
many Black women have experienced, either us ourselves or in our families that we're aware of. And then and when they hit that age, that fear begins to bubble up. And that's also, decades old fear, post
Hmm.
traumatic slave syndrome fear that lingers around. And so that fear is real for the girls too. But when we begin to parent them in that fear, what you wearing, what you looking at. We don't want them to be perceived in any way that will attract that, but we're actually attracting that.
Why,
Because we're
why,
sitting in
You
that
know,
energy.
I
hold on, man. Hold on. Why are you talking about me on live like that?
Talking to the mamas and the daddies. I mean, if the shoe is
mamas and the
fitting.
daddies,
You ain't got to
right?
bring up what I said, though. But go ahead.
Yeah, this one was tough.
Yeah.
You telling, yeah, because I've had, some sexual trauma, as a young child. So, like she can't spend a night, she can't,
Mhm.
just all those different things. And I realized, like, well, I'm just teaching her to be scared, of adults.
Yeah.
So I started having conversations with her about why I was so scared,
Mhm.
giving her, just to be aware, not afraid, but just always be aware, and don't put yourself, you know, they say, yeah, I like wearing this, but when you are aware that there's pedophiles out here, when you are aware that there are grown men out here that like looking, that their frequency, because there's a sex energy out here, right? So
Mhm.
if you see your daughters getting busted and filling out, it's horrifying.
Yes, it is.
It's absolutely horrifying. But
Mhm.
it's like, well, they have to enjoy life too. They can't be, so there is a matter of teaching them how to honor themselves, you
Mhm.
know, wearing tight clothes. Of course, oh, this the fashion. It's not the fashion for you. You
Mhm.
know, what do you bring to your energy when you're showcasing yourself that way?
Mhm.
This is a devil's playground. Overstand where you are and, govern yourself accordingly. So it'd be like, oh, I like this. Okay, you like this, but you still, if your vibration ain't high enough, you got Jimmy over there looking at you, Uncle Jimmy. So we have to keep those things in mind. Just
Mhm.
for me, it was making her aware why I had the fear, and we had the conversation. So we're over here eliminating childhood traumas.
Right.
Yes.
Every opportunity we have a chance. So I give thanks for that. All right. Okay. So by understanding the map of consciousness, we can be more mindful of how our actions impact our children. The more love and support we show, the higher they can climb the ladder of positive energy, leading to happier, well balanced children. Okay. So, affirming love for children, one of the main things: think less, feel more, frown less, smile more, talk less, listen more, judge less, accept more, watch less, do more, complain less, acknowledge more, fear less, and love more.
Mhm. I absolutely love this. I've worked I've worked with youth and young adults for over 24 years. I worked in the space of education in and out of school programs. And that judging less and accepting more, because let me tell you, if you're in a space with middle school kids
Mm.
or elementary school kids, when they're comfortable with you, you can learn so much if you don't judge and accept. And one lesson I learned was just to, when, whenever whatever the slang was of the day or whatever was going on, that was hot to them and interesting to them, and I was like, that in my mind I may have thought that is some crazy stuff y'all talking about, but I wouldn't say that to, I would say, help me understand
Mm.
what you mean when you say, I'm a little confused, I don't understand this term. And they love to teach. They love to tell you. They'll sit you down, and because now they get to be the in the teacher role or the adult role, and you get to become the student to them. And so that judge less and accept more has really benefited me with my children and with my work, and picking up tools on how to ask a question to empower them to teach me when it's something that they're doing that doesn't resonate with me.
Do you
That is awesome.
do you have any tools? Because I'm looking at this think less, feel more. And I think we all, during this age of social media, we are engaged with social media, and the kids are highly engaged to the point that they can't focus.
Yeah.
And so thinking less may be hard to do. I know one tool would be meditation.
Yeah.
To help them think less, to calm their mind down, because and I'm guilty of it too. I have the TV on or doing work while I'm working, or something else. My attention is divided. So any tools and tips to help them with some of these?
Indeed. Focus again. This playground, that's what it is. It's a distraction for your soul.
Mm,
So that's why we're here, to ignite your soul so you can connect. So
mm,
meditation, as you said, is one. Also taking mushrooms like lion's mane, different herbs that can keep your focus.
Mhm.
A lot of times we don't realize if we're deficient in certain nutrients. Your brain needs certain things, and
mm,
especially if we're getting older, some of the older parents need a little more than the younger parents, right? Excuse me.
Mhm.
So being able to overstand, if you're deficient, if your brain's not working, it's hard for you to focus.
mhm,
Another thing, multitasking is something that should not be done.
that's not real.
Uh, Playing memory games like concentration. You remember the old school concentration?
Yes, 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 yes.
Breaking out some board games, playing Scrabble. Different things that will take you away. Taking a walk in a park, going on a cookout, just having lunch in a park, getting in touch with nature. All of these are things that could take us back. Just think about how you enjoyed yourself in the 80s.
Mm.
I don't know how old you all are. I might be saying something that you might not be familiar with.
No,
Oh, that's familiar.
see, I knew she wouldn't be familiar, but that's what you say.
You
But
can
yeah,
school her, right?
I'm very familiar. She ain't that much younger than me. She familiar. She just don't want me to
Okay, okay.
keep a little dirty secret. But yeah,
But
I'm
yeah,
very familiar.
yeah. And then get into high vibration music.
Yeah.
Mhm,
When you burning sage,
Mm.
washing your hands with sea salt, you'd be surprised, and this can get a little deep. You'd be surprised sometimes we have energy vampires on us and don't even realize it. Or
mhm,
sometimes your children can have energy vampires on them and don't realize it. Doing an egg cleanse where you get a glass of water and get you an egg out the refrigerator, and just imagine like it's a bar of soap, and just cleanse. Imagine you just cleanse all of your energy
Mm.
in that, and then blow on the egg, put it in water, then throw some cayenne and pepper and salt on it and flush it down the toilet.
What? Yeah, I'm doing that.
Now you can do a research. You can research egg cleanse, because once you drop it in the water, and make sure you don't put your head over the glass. Okay.
Mhm.
When you drop that egg in the water, it will have different characteristics.
Mhm.
It'll
And
have, yeah, and those characteristics will tell you different things. So I'm just gonna leave that there.
yeah, and our producers brought out that some other tools is Bach flower remedies and
Oh,
tonic.
indeed.
Yep, and also sound bowls. I love listening to singing
Yes.
bowls before I go to sleep to set my
Mhm.
chakras in order. But you can go right ahead.
Indeed. Yeah. Setting your intentions before and at before the day, like when you wake up, set your intentions,
Mhm.
set your mental consciousness of, plan your day, write out your day, right? And
Mhm.
in the shadow hour, you know, s- you know, re re recondition yourself again.
Mhm.
There's tons of meditations with high frequencies, ensuring that you're doing that, being consistent with it.
Mhm.
The best thing is just even having, the sound bowls are wonderful, but if you can find a YouTube that has those sound bowls playing while you're sleeping,
Yeah.
it goes into your subconscious.
Mhm.
So that is like, um just like automatic pilot. So if you start conditioning your automatic pilot, your subconscious, you'll be able to feel more, smile more, listen more, accept more, do more, acknowledge more, and love more.
Mm.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah, because when I start looking at this list, I've seen it before. And when you look to the left, I've felt those feelings before. And every time I think about when I felt that, I didn't like myself, or I didn't like somebody.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I was irritated with somebody. So my focus is staying, it's a fight every second to keep your mind right, but once you are consistent with it, it's easy peasy, lemon
Mhm.
squeezy.
Absolutely. We are indeed in a conscious warfare.
Uh-huh. Yeah. You gotta take it back. And so, like you said, you got it, those tools that allow you to take it back, is unmatched.
Mhm.
All right. So, unconditional love, the first gift. The first thing every child should know is that they are loved unconditionally. Your worth is not measured by your grades, your skills, or your behavior. You are loved simply because you are you. You are loved simply because you are you. Your worth is not measured by your achievements. We love you for who you are, not what you do. That is so powerful. You
Mhm.
know, Children come into this life, and most of us, you got to get a job, got to get married, got to do this, you got to go into the program, you got to go into the program, you got to go into the matrix. It's a must. But everybody doesn't fit in that, you
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
And I'm a firm believer that everyone has come here with a gift to pour into the world, especially our star seeds. Come on, our indigo children, our rainbow children. They didn't come here to just get good grades and work into a job. They came here to spread some sunshine and some rainbows and break and help us raise our vibration from this Willie Lynch syndrome. And Willie Lynch syndrome, people on all races have been infected.
Mhm.
It's just they have a different type of infection as far as how they present it,
Mhm.
but all of them have it, you know. But we have to get back into giving our children the space to just let them be, explore why they came here. All right. Any comments or questions on that?
No, this is great. I love this list because when I read this, I also read these as affirmations you can teach to your children if you change the yous to I's,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can learn to love themselves unconditionally while you're expressing unconditional love to them. So while you're telling them you're loved simply because you are you, I am loved simply because I am who I am, like teaching your child that as well. So this can double as a tool for you to have unconditional love, but also for you to teach your children how to affirm unconditional love for themselves. This is great.
I agree. It is great, but I struggle with this unconditional love stuff. I think that love is very conditional, and that we
Mm,
don't, and that's just me. I just think that love is very conditional, and it's hard to express unconditional love because how, I guess a better question would be, well, how can you still continue to express unconditional love when the child is not behaving like you want that
hmm,
child to behave, or is expressing personalities that you don't agree with, or you see something that they're doing that um another relative did, and they may be on a path. How do you how does that look, expressing unconditional love at those?
hmm. Okay. So let me just say, I'm a firm believer that we are gods with amnesia, right? That we
Mhm,
came here for a purpose. And so part of that purpose is to overstand love. So
mhm,
we actually came from unconditional love.
mhm.
Here, love is conditional.
Okay.
You are
Right.
absolutely
All right. Okay. I'm not crazy. Thank you.
you are absolutely right. That's what we've been programmed to do. But as we get into higher states of consciousness, we have to understand what unconditional love is. Just because you mad at somebody, that doesn't erase the love that you have for them. Just
Mhm.
because they got a bad grade, that doesn't it should not.
Mhm.
It should not. Because that means that the love is conditional.
Yeah,
And most parents are guilty of it.
absolutely.
We're
Mhm.
guilty of it, because of what we was taught. We don't even realize the indoctrinations we have until we got
Mhm.
till we had children. Be like, I don't think I could have had my daughter at an early age. I think she would be totally screwed up, because just because I don't feel I had enough wisdom to pour, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? But
Yeah,
everybody comes at their own time when they're supposed to be here.
absolutely.
But I just know me at an earlier age, just where I just didn't know things. I just didn't know.
Mm.
Just didn't know.
Yep.
What do you say to the parents who have, are dealing with wanting to continue to love their adult children? So, as your children begin to mature and grow, they become their own, adult humans in their own right. Like they're their own people when they're younger,
Right.
but those personalities begin to kind of be entrenched. They are who they are. They're living their lives, and you have less and less direct influence as you did when they were younger. And there are some parents that have adult children who, if we're just going to be honest, they may not like them.
Yeah.
They may not like the adult that they became.
Yeah.
Um, what do you say to those with regard those parents with regards to exhibiting
Well,
unconditional love?
we are vessels. Our children's, they are not ours. They come through us, and we're here to teach them. And so sometimes your children are your karma, and vice versa,
Mm.
to learn different
Mm.
lessons. Some mother parent child relationships are that reason to erase certain karma in your genealogy.
Hmm.
Some of it has to work out. Some of it you might not realize y'all might be the same thing, same person.
Mm.
That's what
So
I'm
much alike
that's what
that
I'm
y'all don't
recognizing.
like each other.
That's what I'm recognizing
Talked
too.
about mirror work yesterday, so yeah.
And the most important thing is that you can't everything is self-study. So to speak to those parents, I say you have to do a deep dive in observance of you, because I
Mhm.
especially if it's a daughter and you a mother, daughters show you deep personalities
Oh
within
yeah.
yourself. I had this one elder in my life, and she had like 6 daughters, right? And she really broke this down to me. And I don't think anybody, you would have to have 6 daughters to really understand it, right?
Mm.
And you have sons. So she said, as I watch my children, I realized that each one of my daughters mirrors a particular aspect of my personality.
Mm.
And so she said, and I don't like all of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So sometimes our children give us a mirror,
Mhm.
and the universe is giving you that lesson.
Yeah.
So you have to, let's say, put on your big girl panties and
Mm-hmm.
figure it out,
Yeah.
because it's a lesson. It's either a lesson or a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
It's here for you. This is the devil's playground, is to teach you lessons and for you to experience joy. If you can do it,
Mhm.
you can experience joy and bliss here. If you can control your emotions, you can do
Mm.
it. You can do it.
We do have a question in the chat.
Okay.
How do parents affirm love for children when they live in unsafe communities and trusting that they are safe and trusting the world with our children?
Well, that goes back to when we talked about fear
Mm-hmm.
and protection and love can't exist in the same place.
Mhm.
So yes, like I'll give you an example. So I was living down south for a little bit. Um, and when I got ready to come back up north, and this was during the time where they was like, "Oh, the National Guard is coming to Chicago," all that hoopla, right? Trying to make our city seem like it's Beirut or something.
Right.
And so the person I was talking, they was scared for me, right? And I'm looking at them like, there's no way I'll never be afraid to go home.
Right.
I'll never be afraid to go home. I, hung out at the low end craziness, but it's just like I've always had an energy where I grew up, like where I was always protected.
Mm-hmm.
I always had that no matter what. And I give thanks and gratitude because I was in some crazy situations and be like, wow, thank you, ancestors, because
Absolutely.
9 times out of 10, that shouldn't have worked out the way, but
Mm-hmm.
we're here. You don't want to continue you have to do the work to bring your vibration higher.
Yes.
You
Mm-hmm.
can't, yes, they might live in Terrytown or the O Block. They might live in those places, but how many times do we have, how many relatives that are actually, that you've partied, had fun with in those same areas?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just that.
Yeah.
So you have to start positioning your mentality. Drink some sage tea.
Mhm.
That helps bring your vibration. Make them some sage tea so they not getting it into no unnecessary conversations with people.
Right.
Yeah.
Put certain crystals, protection crystals, in their pocket. Put salt on their front door and all their windows.
Mm. Yeah.
Sing affirmations, say affirmations. Make it, this day is going to be perfect because I said it. You have to realize that you're a God. You have to realize your voice matters. You have to realize you have the vibration to make things happen. If you sit there, that's what's gonna happen. You're gonna
Mm-hmm.
live in that energy.
I
Mm,
love it. I knew I was talking to the right one tonight.
this is great. And I see that this slide says this is the first gift. So I want to make sure we get to all of these gifts that you want to share with us
Indeed,
tonight.
indeed,
Yep.
indeed. Okay, so unconditional love, the first gift. Unconditional love acts as the foundation for a child's healthy emotional growth. But how exactly do parents express this love? We can think of it as different love languages parents speaks to their children. Protective love, a safe harbor. Imagine yourself as a superhero, shielding your child from harm. This is protective love, setting boundaries, ensuring safety, and creating a sense of security. Now, another now one thing I do, it's called a is how you can protect your energy. Just imagine yourself, right? Just imagine you ball your fists up and you knocking, right? Knocking on your arms, knocking on just knock all over. You're just stimulating all the nerve endings, right? You're knocking all over you, all over you. And then when you finish knocking, you get to the bottom of your feet, and then you just imagine you're locking yourself up in love and peace, and you imagine you zip yourself all the way up to the top of your head and you tie it up in a bow, and you just picture yourself locking in peace, love, and bliss. And do that every day before you go outside.
I love
Protect yourself, protect your children. Make sure my daughter knock all the time. We knocking every time we go outside.
And it's such a fun thing you can do with your kids too.
Yes,
Yeah,
knock
it can
it,
be
knock
fun.
it. And but before you zip yourself up, ensure you have the right state of mind.
Mhm.
Because you're gonna lock up some crack. You don't want to lock up nothing you don't want, right?
Yeah, I agree that, and that's like another form of EFT.
Indeed.
Yeah,
Indeed.
yeah, I love that. I love that, and I always remember to when I'm feeling a certain way, or if I'm thinking about going into a place where I feel unsafe, I always reaffirm myself with the affirmations that I use for myself, and then I go into those areas, and just so happens a lot of things happen that I miss, that I'm minutes away from, or I just left the area. So it is indeed a way to protect yourself. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And for those who might not be aware that are listening to in today or catching the replay, EFT is emotional frequency tapping.
Yes.
Yes. And so I'm a studier of Chinese energetics. I also practice Kung Fu. And the EFT is a part of that spectrum.
Hmm.
So the tapping, um, yeah, I learned Chinese energetics before I learned those other terms. So it's just so exciting to me. There's just so many ways that we can utilize energy
Yes.
and capitalize off of it, right?
Mhm.
All right, next up, teaching with love, lessons for life. Think of a patient teacher guiding their student. Parents teach not just with words, but with love. It shines through in their patience,
Mhm.
even when explaining the same concept repeatedly. Oh my goodness, yes.
Hmm.
I know you as a teacher. I love the story that you gave to us, speaking about how you give your children the space to speak and let them know that it's okay to express itself. That's awesome.
Mhm.
And allowing them to teach. So
Yes.
yeah, that is awesome. Any thoughts or comments?
No, that patience is very critical. And when we were first reading through your talking points, I know one question we kept saying we had was, well, what's the practical application of this? What is the practical application of this? And I think the slides that you showed in the beginning ties that together. It's your self-awareness.
Yeah.
Because when you're self-aware of those emotions on the ranges that you showed, on the frequency ladders that you showed, and the charts that you showed, you know when you're in a space, in a frequency of impatience. And if you're being mindful and you're engaging in mindful living and mindful breathing, you know what that feels like when it starts to come on. You know what impatience
Mhm.
feels like. You mentioned that one chart that had the feelings on both sides. You said when I feel the feelings on the left side, it's because I'm annoyed, or I'm not liking somebody or myself in that moment, right? So those are all keys and triggers. So when you guys get this PDF and get the information shared here, those first three slides with those charts, that's how you're going to check in with your self-awareness to make
Yeah.
sure that you're doing these things.
And I agree. One thing I want to remind the audience of is that patience is a practice, it's a process. You just don't have patience just because you want to have patience. You got to practice it and go through the process of actually learning patience and what that look like. Because for me, it's a lot of tongue biting. It's a lot of I need to walk away, but I need to say it in a way in which the person knows that I'm doing this in love, that I need to step away and practice patience with you, you know?
Mhm.
So it's a process. Yep.
It's yeah, it's definitely a process. But just really getting in touch with your breath, taking deep breaths
Mhm.
helps you gather that patience. For me, well, practicing kung fu. But I was in my early 20s during that time. But becoming a mom and breastfeeding for 2 years, that was patience. was that was definitely patience. It taught me there's so many different things you can just sit down and enjoy when you think it's a chore, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So coming over, that was probably a great obstacle that one of the greatest obstacles. Motherhood just brought me up to a whole nother level of wisdom. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's like I was just taking quizzes before I became a mother. Then the real tests came.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with regards to patience too, I think it's important to differentiate between patience and restraint. I've
Mm,
often seen parents exercising restraint and labeling it as being patient,
ah,
but they were actually just simply holding their mule, as the folks say, holding themselves back. That doesn't necessarily mean you're being patient, because sometimes when you're operating and you're just restraining yourself, the child is still getting all that low vibe energy that's seeping out
indeed,
as you
indeed.
attempt to restrain. It's still oozing out of spaces. So that's not necessarily an act of patience. Patience, as you described it, is being grounded. You're breathing, you're present in the moment, and it's an act of love, not necessarily restraint. There is a difference.
You
Mhm.
definitely got to check your emotions. Check where you are. And one of the things, the Bach flower remedies, maybe you can't get to breathe, depending on what that situation is. You might have an instant flare up. However, that's why it's important. You are the creators of your day.
Mm-hmm.
You have to start that in the day because you're going to get the distractions. So if you don't claim I'm going to be patient with everyone I come into. I'm going to express myself with love and understanding to everybody. I'm going to comprehend everything. I'm going to listen. So you speak those affirmations to yourself when you open your eyes.
Mhm.
You create that. So if you want to wake up every day and jump in the deep end, so be it. So be it. You can do that. But that's we're evolving to live on a higher level of consciousness. We have that
Mm-hmm.
ability.
Mhm.
So we don't have to just wake up in the morning and just hit go,
Yep.
right?
Greatest lesson I learned.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Where's my coffee? Oh, I can't. No, get out of that. Get out of that. Stop being a mouse on the wheel
Mm.
and take control. All right, you have it.
Yeah.
So the next one up, love is discipline. Tough but tender. Sometimes love requires difficult conversations. Discipline doesn't diminish love, it's about guiding them towards making better decisions. Imagine a gardener gently pruning a young tree. Love fosters growth, and discipline helps children develop into well-rounded individuals.
Mhm.
So this I've watched, haha. I've had the privilege to be an observer of when a parent sees a child not as their child, but as their friend.
Mm.
Mhm.
And it's devastating because now that child is grown and did not get discipline.
Mhm.
Many mothers, it's mothers do it with their sons and fathers do it with their daughters. The daughters have the dad wrapped around that finger. No, we're not doing no discipline. No, because they love them so much. I don't want you to be mad at me.
Mhm.
Mm.
I don't want, and I had to change my tone. It's like, wait a minute, I'm a parent. I can't. She gonna have to be mad at me sometime.
Mm.
Yeah.
I have to. If I don't do it, who's gonna do it for her? Who's gonna do it for her? If she doesn't get the discipline here, you're gonna send your child out in the world without preparing them.
Mhm.
If they can't see the discipline from you, then how will they have it in the world? Ask yourself that. And that's a huge part of giving that unconditional love, because sometimes that's hard to
Mhm.
discipline your child. And it's like, that's unconditional love at its purest, because you're doing your job. Right?
Yep.
Gotta do your job, parents.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna blame the system if you because you didn't do your job.
Because that's who's gonna discipline them.
Yep.
Right.
They will be disciplined
They will be.
one
Oh
way or
yeah,
the other.
they will be. All right. Anybody else have any?
No, I don't. Go right ahead.
Yeah. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Moving forward, enduring love, a constant presence. Life throws challenges our way, and children are no exception. Enduring love means being there for them through thick and thin, celebrating their victories and offering a shoulder to cry on during defeats.
Mhm.
This constant presence reassures children of their parents' unwavering love, regardless of their mistakes or successes. It's the knowledge that no matter what, their parents will always love them. And that's definitely true. However, when you realize that you didn't do some things as a parent, sometimes you have to take a stand when those children are adults, and it could be even harder, right?
Yes.
We're both smiling and laughing because we have children old enough to have come and had those. I've called them their come to Jesus conversations with us.
Right.
Really raw,
Mm.
really raw conversations with absolutely zero filters and a whole tons of raw emotions. So we've each individually, my husband and I, with our children, have had those conversations and had to do exactly what you said, to stand in it and acknowledge. Yeah,
Yeah, I had to apologize to my children. Like,
apologize.
hey,
Absolutely.
Mm.
what I did was wrong.
Oh, wow.
And I was going off the programming of what I was taught.
Yep.
And that was wrong. However, we had to break this cycle, this
Mhm.
generational cycle of what's going on to our family and handle this differently, you know, and then they can be like, then they'll turn in turn say, oh, okay. And
Yeah.
apologize. I have to really apologize and hug them, let them know I still love them. I just did them wrong. Please forgive me.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, you know, but let's not keep this going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
then you have
good.
to honor the person who they are in that moment
Mm.
Yeah.
in moving forward in the relationship. and you got to, that's the first step in mending it, because there those conversations came from a place of deep hurt.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Oh, I bet. And
Hmm.
you know, the one thing too, parents, when you have those tough conversations, make sure you forgive yourself,
Absolutely.
Oh,
because you did the best you could based off your capacity of
hmm
emotional intelligence, of, you know, just based off of what you had. And guess what? Going back to being Gaza with amnesia, they asked for you to be that parent for them at that time. How about that?
Mhm. Yes. I
That should
received
probably give you a little more forgiveness, right?
yes, I received
absolutely.
that.
Okay. So every child is unique and their emotional needs may differ. By understanding these love languages, parents can tailor their approach and ensure their children feel loved unconditionally every day. Family love is the foundation for our families and provides us with a sense of security and belonging. Our love for you is the bedrock of our family. It's a warm hug, a listening ear, and an unwavering belief that you are special. You don't have to earn it, you just have to be you. Okay. So, constant presence, always there, always present. Love is just not a feeling, it's an action.
Hmm.
Our love for you means that we will always be there for you in times of joy and in times of struggle. No matter what, you are never alone. Love is an action, not just a feeling. We are here for you through thick and thin. You are never alone. So these are so important. If you instill this in your children, it's like because because you know you got that backup, you probably won't even use it, right?
Hmm.
When you know you have it many times. So it's just making sure, and at an early age, feeding this to them, you know, and if they're older, you know, having the conversations and say, hey, we about to break this generational curse. We about to
Hmm.
understand what our love language, how we can love each other better, and how we can be in our a constant presence for higher elevation in our family.
Mhm.
Make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. Valuing individuality. Celebrate your uniqueness. Each child is unique with their own strengths, weaknesses, and interests. We affirm our love by celebrating your individuality, encouraging you to be yourself, and respecting your personal journey. Each of you is special and one of a kind. We encourage you to be yourself. Your journey is your own. Again, we're just vessels. We are simply vessels. We have to understand, not make sure we're not indoctrinating our children, but most
Mm.
importantly, make sure they're not indoctrinating themselves with
Mm.
all these video games, because that's very plausible, right?
Yeah.
You have to give them experiences outside of the norm. Take them to the art museum, take them to a play, take them, let them learn the violin. Different experiences allow them to understand what their individuality is. If they just on 63rd and King Drive, all they don't know nothing but 63rd and King Drive. You
Hmm.
know, sometimes you have to go outside of your space to see, to see who you are, and just giving them that space to do that.
Hmm.
I'm sure you know about all about that, Miss Teacher, Dr.
Absolutely. And also the trap of
Yeah.
comparing your child to your other children, comparing your
Oh,
child to their friends, to your niece, your nephew,
mm,
your cousin, or anyone for that matter, or an ideal of a child, of what a child should be in your head. That comparison can really undercut the valuing of their individuality.
Yeah.
oh, indeed.
Yeah. It's no way you're going to be able to
Say that again.
there's no way you're going to be able to celebrate them if you're comparing them to someone else. And the truth is most parents don't want to admit it, but they got a favorite child. If they got more than one or two, they got 3 to 5, they got a favorite kid, and they don't they, and they got one that they love a little bit less than the other ones. So, and I'm just being truthful and honest that we
Now
like
you
to
go.
say that we don't, but we do.
Now
That,
your kids gonna be coming calling you now.
oh,
Kids, kids. I
I
didn't
told them
say
all,
that.
listen, I tell them all they my favorite.
Right, but now you didn't tell the story. You didn't told on
And
yourself.
I'm sticking to what I say. They all my favorite.
But you know what's interesting? I bet you if you look at who you say your favorite is, it's probably the aspect of your personality you like the most.
Absolutely.
And the one
Absolutely.
that you say you don't really, you got a little issue with, is an aspect of your personality you like the least.
Absolutely that is.
Back to self. Thank you, Nanu Shaz.
That is the truth. And I know that that's why I said most parents, I wasn't speaking for myself.
Of course you wasn't. Right? Awesome, awesome. Okay, next up, listening with love. Your voice matters. Part of affirming love for our children is listening to you. Your thoughts, your dreams, your fears, and your feelings matter. We listen not just with our ears, but with our hearts. We listen to you with our hearts. Your thoughts, dreams, and fears are important. We are here to understand and support you. That message has to ring true. You have to make sure your children understand that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And many times we just have what is it? Some people have are hard of listening, not hard of hearing, hard of listening. Right? You catch that?
Yes, I love it.
They can hear you, but they ain't really listening. That goes back with that, focus thing. And some people might have a serious issue, but they've, take away those terms, ADHD for children, for adults. None of that stuff that just came up within a few years. Like, I was just reading something, Alzheimer's didn't come out into the 1800s with the development of margin. How about that? So there's so many different things that we just have to overstand, just to be overstand where we are, overstand if we're not able to focus, use your tools to help you better. So how parents and teachers cultivate great listeners. They model good listening. Children learn by observing the behavior of the adults around them. When parents and teachers show children that they value what they have to say by giving them their full attention, children are more likely to reciprocate this behavior. This means putting away distractions like phones and laptops when a child is talking, making eye contact, and using body language that shows you are engaged in the conversation. Starts at home, right?
Yes,
Create
absolutely.
create a safe space for communication. Children need to feel safe and comfortable expressing themselves in order to be good listeners. This means creating an environment where they feel like they can talk about anything without judgment or interruption. Parents and teachers can do this by using positive reinforcement, avoiding criticism, and showing empathy. Ask open ended questions. Open ended questions encourage children to elaborate on their thoughts and feelings, rather they simply giving a yes or a no answer. This helps children to develop their communication skills and also shows them that you are interested in what they have to say. Give children your full attention. When a child is talking to you, put away distractions and focus on what they are saying. This shows them that you value their communication and that their thoughts and feelings are important to you. Practice active listening. Active listening is a skill that involves paying attention to both the verbal and non-verbal cues of the speaker. When the children are talking to you, try to summarize what they have said in your own words to show that you are understanding them. You can also use nonverbal cues such as nodding your head and smiling to show that you are engaged in the conversation. So, yeah, many times you might not want to just interrupt to see if you do have a leeway there, but the nonverbal cues, nodding your head. So, you have to
Mhm.
make sure that you understand that to be a great listener. Make sense?
Oh, these are great tips for listening to anybody.
Right. But as we continue to show, model this behavior, they will go out into the world and model it as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm. Okay. Give children your full attention. When a child is talking to you, put away distractions. Put away distractions and focus on what they are saying. This gives them that you value their communication and that their thoughts and feelings are important to you. Practice listening. Active listening is a skill that involves paying attention to both the verbal and nonverbal cues of the speaker. When children are talking to you, try to summarize what they have said in your own words to show that you are understanding them. You can also use nonverbal cues, such as nodding your head and smiling to show that you are engaged in the conversation. Guess we needed to hear that one twice, okay? Be patient. It takes time and practice for children to develop good listening skills. Be patient with them and continue to provide them with opportunities to practice listening and communication. We understand that growing up is not always easy and you are learning new things every day. We affirm our love by being patient, giving you space to grow at your own pace. We understand that growing up is not always easy and you are learning new things every day. We affirm our love by being patient, giving you space to grow at your own pace. Make it fun. There are many ways to make listening fun for children. You can play games that require them to listen carefully, such as Simon Says or I Spy. You can also read stories together and take turns summarizing what happened in each chapter. All right. All right. So that is all that I have for you today. Thank you for your time and attention and continue to pour love to seeds that grow into greatness.
Oh, this was a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much for sharing that, Ninu Shayas. And we do have a few minutes here left in tonight's episode. And so there are a few questions that came through in the chat that I want to elevate and give you an opportunity to answer quickly because we also want to have time at the end for you to share with others how they can connect with you and share any last words you have. So the first one is how do parents guide children who may be experiencing identity issues or issues of their sexuality or dealing and understanding their body through sexual experiences?
Well, that's a very popular topic now.
Mhm.
Um, one of the main things is you want to make sure that they're eating things that are not changing their hormones.
Mhm.
That's first and foremost. Um, Drinking milk has a lot of estrogen in it. You want to, so that's first and foremost. Ensuring that they have a balanced diet because sad to say, there is a lot of indoctrination of different things as far as making them question their sexuality before they even understand puberty.
Mhm.
So, just sitting down and having a conversation with them, let them know about the different changes in their body. There are, however, someone is born is however they're born, but to make sure that they are just comfortable with having the conversation, giving them the space to have the conversation so they can explore exactly what is going on with them. ensuring that it's not indoctrination and stuff that they've been hearing, they're just copying off of everybody else, or if they're actually, if they even old enough to have those conversations. Because right now, even saying you should understand just who you are, right? No
Mhm.
labels, no nothing. And so that encompasses really journaling, not saying that, you like, at a very young age, really having an affinity towards whether it's a female or a male at a young age. You have to really understand yourself first. So I would say that, ensuring that their diet is not causing any type of hormonal imbalances. It's very popular, so that could be a whole nother show.
Yeah.
Just by having those conversations, because it is a war on our children. um People are born to love who they love, but society is causing other things to kind of pour into that. So you just have to be mindful that they're actually eating properly and have a space to have those conversations so they can explore it, and that they know that they can have a conversation and talk to you. So if you're not the parents, you have to make sure that you study all the information or all the things that come along with those conversations. But the main thing is, just be a kid, just enjoy being. Do you have to make this decision right now, right? Why is it so important to say if you're a girl or a boy at this particular, depending how young the child is? That's first and foremost. After puberty, those conversations, they probably be more aware of what actually is, maybe after 13 or 14. But younger than that, the self-love should be indoctrinated into them, right? Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Perfect.
And then
Yeah.
you will have some to add on to that.
No, that makes perfectly good sense. And I love what you said. And I'm just thinking even more broadly than the question itself. As I think about my own childhood and trying to figure out my identity, which, just I think I've gotten to that space in the recent years. A lot of it was navigating labels. You mentioned like let's remove the labels and let's just focus on your identity as a person. Who are you without a label? Who are you without being the smart girl, the good girl, without whatever the label is, the troublemaker, the bad boy? Or there's always labels that I think children have to navigate that are placed upon them either through their families or what they're picking up in society. Maybe there's an image that they want to be like, that they are observing. For us, it was on TV. For these kids, it might be in social media. And regardless of just out moving beyond the question of simply sexual identity, but figuring out who you are in and of yourself without a
Mhm.
label, and then helping navigate your child through that is really the most important and first step. Now,
Indeed.
there's one more question here. How can a child of a narcissistic or controlling parent navigate relationships?
Ooh, child. Well, first and foremost, as I like to say, we're guys with amnesia. We ask to come here. We ask for every experience that we come encounter with. So they ask for that narcissist parent. You know, it could be a karma thing, but how do they navigate? Was that the question?
That was the question about how does a child navigate, the child of a controlling parent navigate that relationship?
Well, one of the things I have this Hawaiian mantra that I love to use anytime I'm in a situation with a narcissist. And the mantra actually, so narcissists, you can't have a conversation with. You can't talk to them, right? They know everything. They're controlling. Ain't no. It's just it's a lose lose. Anytime you open your mouth and have a conversation with them, right? So what I like to do is what I call is go into the ethers and fix it,
Mm.
right? We
Hmm.
can do that with affirmations. We can do that with sound energy. We can do that with light energy. So this Hawaiian mantra is called Ho'oponopono. Don't ask me how to spell it. I'm sure somebody they'll put it in the chat. Ho'oponopono. And they have a lot of different there's a lot of different YouTubes on Ho'oponopono, hours long, 15 minutes long, 20 minutes long. And I've actually changed it because they say and they play this music and it's just four simple phrases that go along with it. You say, I love you, please forgive me. I like to say, I honor you, thank you.
Mhm.
The mantras that you see on YouTube, they're gonna say not I honor you, they say I'm sorry. And I
Mm.
don't like
Mm.
to say that.
Hmm.
So I changed it. And it still works for me.
Yeah, I think it
And what
goes, I'm sorry, please
Yeah,
forgive,
I'm not sorry. We're not sorry.
thank you, and I love you. Yeah, I'm familiar with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah.
I agree with you. We're not sorry.
Yeah. I say I honor you.
Mhm.
And that changes the vibrate. I think too much, so I can't say certain things.
No, you are
Agreed.
absolutely correct.
Agreed.
I can't say certain things. But what you do is you close your eyes, you picture that person and imagine your heart energy, a rainbow of heart energy going to that person's rainbow and they're just sitting right in front of you. And you just chant those things. Do it for like 10 to 15 minutes. Just sit there and just imagine that energy going towards them and just you'd be surprised with the conversation.
Mm.
That's all I'm gonna say.
All right. I love that. We got to teach our children, empower them to take it to the ether sometimes because there is a
Oh.
power dynamic in parent child relationships, and they are on the lesser end of that power dynamic. But
Mhm.
because we are all gods, we can teach our children to tap into that and to handle some things in the ether when they're faced with those power dynamics and those challenges as well. So, Nin Ushayas, this has been a wonderful conversation. We thank you so much for your sharing and your pouring out tonight and this evening. And if everybody online would just be a little patient with us, give us 5 more minutes of your time because we need Nin Ushayas to tell us how you guys can engage with her.
Well, right now I am on a private scene. Um, however, I will have some projects coming out, and when that come out, I'll have them posted on the Master Force uh, website.
All right. So if you're not familiar with the Master Force website, hopefully that information will be made available to you in some of the materials that you have. And there's also a newsletter, a wonderful newsletter that comes out. You should subscribe to the Master Force newsletter, absolutely, so that you can be made abreast of upcomings and when master teachers like Nin Ushayas is blessing us with her knowledge and pouring out her wisdom as well, opportunities to engage. Any last words for the people?
Just continue to stay lifted, stay positive because you can, and have a great day on purpose every day.
Hmm.
I love that. With that being said, we like to say thank you again. I greatly appreciate you and all your wisdom and the gems that you dropped from my heart. And I hope they had a greatest time in the audience as we did today, speaking with you, and did enjoyed it. And we welcome you all come back tomorrow, same time, and then we'll be discussing affirming love for our community. And it's
Hmm.
going to be a great show, another great show presented to you by Master Force Inc. And with that, say good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
I love and approve of my children. I love and approve of my child. My children remind me of my spiritual gifts. My children remind me of my spiritual gifts. I allow my children to grow and to change. I allow my children to grow, and to change. There is so much life in my child. There is so much life in my children. I always express my joy and love for my children. I always love and express my joy and love for my children. Thank you for joining us tonight.